I am the living bread. Years ago, at Farnborough Abbey, there was a young man who was thinking of entering, and he commented to the prior after seeing the High Mass, which was actually in the new rite but with all the trimmings of the old, how moving it was to see the Blessed Sacrament descending in the hanging pyx from the rafters of the church down to the high altar. He said it was a liturgy in itself, and the prior answered, "Bread from heaven." That is actually what is happening each time at the moment of the consecration. And the angels are awaiting that moment. In the old rite, it is only heard by the priest. In the new rite, it can be said or sung, but it should always be very carefully pronounced. For these are words where heaven and earth are intertwined in a cosmic manner. Without the priest pronouncing those words, it will not happen. The Curé Vaz used to comment, if one sees a belfry, one thinks of the God that is beneath it, and if it were not for the priest, God would not be there. His life was one of love towards the Blessed Sacrament and of self-sacrifice to the people of God. Both sacrament and word were important. He would spend hours and hours confessing, but also he would teach well. Even the daily catechism was given in the pulpit. Those pulpits have nearly disappeared, alas, from our Catholic scene, but there are still some around. It was a great consolation to receive news from the bishop that probably we will be having eventually access to a church with a pulpit closer to the hermitage, and also the use of the unchanged high altar. Very few of these high altars are still used, but there is a power in celebrating on these ancient stones containing relics and with a tabernacle before one. With regard to preaching, it is something which needs to be taken very seriously. As Milton said, the hungry sheep look up and are not fed. The advantage of the new missal and the new lectionary is a certain richness and variation, giving a more varied fare with regard to the topics of the preaching. The new massive access to the Word of God over 3 years is a great enrichment for the people of God. But is it exploited to the full? There is a power in the sermon which is not fully appreciated. We need to be aware that if people fall away, it can be partly our fault. They are not given the truth and its challenging message. For if one takes away the sting, the risk of not getting to heaven, and gives to the people of God, on those rare occasions when they still come, notably funerals, an incomplete message only, then the consequences will follow. The mentality will be, everyone gets to heaven anyway, even after a suicide. It will increase the number of suicides and increase the number of departures from regular Mass, for it doesn't really matter anyway, it seems. So the preachers themselves, we, are responsible for the consequences. The Lord spent a high proportion of his preaching and teaching talking about the last things and the risk for the soul. Do we know better than our teacher? And can we take away the insistence that marriage, for instance, demands fidelity? Can we play with the Word of God and make it our own, so as to be popular? Let us ask for the grace to take seriously what the Lord has given us in word and sacrament, and give him only the best. Corpus natum de Maria Virgine, venere passum immolatum in cruce pro homine, cuius latus perforatum fluxit aqua et sanguine, est nobis pregustatum ortis in examine. O Iesu dulcis, O Iesu pie, O Iesu finis